So, you think about the supply chain problems that probably everybody is aware of these days created by the pandemic. And in one respect, for contracts you're entering into now, that's easier to deal with, at least with the help of counsel, than it would have been 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, because these issues have bubbled their way up and there have been so many disputes about it that there's now pretty well understood ways to contract around it. And I mean, this is the kind of thing you hire a lawyer for up front, is to avoid a dispute by allocating the risk properly and clearly in a way that everybody understands and goes into a project with their eyes open. I think it's also a good example of a place where lawyers and clients need to work cooperatively together. So the lawyers know the fancy Latin words, right? As force majeure is the fancy phrase for what we're talking about here, how you deal with unexpected events. And so you put these clauses in your contract that say if something totally unexpected happens, here's how we're going to deal with that. And you can write, you see these force majeure clauses sometimes that are 3 pages long. It's not just war and acts of God and terrorism, it's steel supply shortages and pandemics, and sometimes you see these hotly negotiated. So a pandemic meeting, this qualification is a force majeure event, but that one is not. And you turn the lawyers loose and they can write all these fancy clauses that go on and on and on. But you really also need to understand from the client, what are the real on-the-ground drivers, right? What are we really worried about? Well, steel might be a big deal, right? If I'm building a building, I gotta have steel because the whole contract is gonna come to an end if I don't get my steel. I'm just gonna stand there and it's my structural element for the building. Grass seed might be less important, right? I can get the whole building up, and so maybe I need to really focus on things like steel. And if I have to give something in the contract, let me make sure I get protection from steel, but not from grass seed. And there's less obvious examples that clients in the industry would know and the lawyers would not. The lawyers know often the language and the clients don't. And if you work together, you can get the protection that the clients really need, but you can't just ship it off to the lawyer, and you can't ignore the lawyer and just do it yourself. It really takes that teamwork and that collaboration to get the best result.